Brian Brown, Brian Dennehy, Rachel Ticotin, Michelangelo's Lost Gold in 1991's FX2. 5 years pass from 1986 to 1991, and we get FX2, which is conversely a little bit dated now, but was trying then to get beyond being dated in and of itself. So if you watch my other review or you've seen FX1, the basic plot of the story is that this guy is a special effects expert played by Brian Brown, recruited by the Justice Department to help fake someone's death because of his incredible skill with special effects in the movies. You're dazzled and blown away by his ability to make fake blood appear and gunshots and pulling off of fake faces. By 1991, we get the sequel, FX2. He is back. He is now in a relationship with the character played by Rachel Ticotin, helping to raise her son from her previous relationship, but he sort of gets along with the boy's father, who is a police officer who ends up killed during a sting operation that he has recruited our special effects expert to help with. Because of a stalker increasingly escalating and threatening violence against a woman, they give the body apparatus necessary to make this male officer appear as the female from a distance and do a switcheroo while the peeping Tom, they believe, is watching through a camera or somewhere remotely through the window to draw him into the scene and then capture him. Everything goes horribly wrong, and the police officer ends up dead. Not only does Brian Brown's character have to explain this to his wife, his girlfriend and her son that he's raising, this guy's son that he's raising, but he runs into a mysterious man on the stairwell during the whole operation gone bad, and he cannot explain why that mysterious man was not intercepted by the police, wasn't known or seen coming and going. And of course, we're back to an elaborate conspiracy like FX1. It turns out our deceased cop was set up from the get-go because he had been spending some of his free time on a cold case file, an old case, looking for a solution to the unsolved mystery of Michelangelo's gold coins, a treasure that is said to be a replica. Michelangelo made them for the Vatican, but he made a second set also for the Vatican, and that second set was stolen. We find that there's been an investigation ongoing, but they never found the coins. They know the thief. He's in prison. He is now dying of old age in prison, being visited by a chaplain. And as things develop, with the help of Brian Dennehy, whose character returns again for this movie, he has been semi-retired and doing his own private investigator thing, but he comes back to help solve this case. What we find out as it unfolds is that it's all an elaborate scheme to find out from this dying old man where he stashed this treasure. It is being led by corrupt cops, utilizing inmates, manipulating them into being our inmate chaplain, the volunteer, turns out to be in on it, and he's ingratiating himself to Becker, the criminal on his deathbed, with the determination that Becker will tell him where the treasure is before he expires. Also, the mafia is deeply involved in this. They have been bribing and paying off the corrupt officers, a corrupt DA, you name it. There's a whole circle of vultures around this that want this gold. The crazy reversal, the turn of events as it pans out, is that the mafia is after the treasure, but not because they want the gold, but because they want to return the gold to the Vatican, because they are good Italian Catholics and don't condone crimes done against Holy Mother Rome. I have to say, while this fit nicely with the era of 1991, it's a bunch of ridiculous nonsense. I mean, it follows up nicely films like The Godfather, Casino, Goodfellas, all three Godfathers, this mythos that the mafia probably enjoys, that they are a bunch of good Catholic family men that just kind of do crime for a living, instead of what they actually are, hanging out in their casinos with all sorts of prostitutes and ladies of the night. And they're not thinking about their families. They're not thinking about their church. Come on. But it fits within the narrative of the era that suddenly we find out, too late, we find out that the mafia just wanted to give the gold back to the church after plans have already been made by Brian Brown's character to make off with the gold himself. So finally, having saved the day and exposed the plot and used again all of the tricky special effects, there's a really neat one with an automated clown that is sort of the precursor of virtual reality, a la the Lawnmower Man. You wear this suit and the body of the robot clown moves as you move. And again, it's cutting edge for 1991. It's not that big a deal now, but it was clearly meant for you to go, wow, that's cool. We end our movie with them in Rome. Apparently, Dennehy and Brown, they have decided to take the coins that they made sure they intercepted all the way back and return them to the Vatican, placing them in an offering plate. Overall, for entertainment value, because of the way the special effects used in each film don't hold up as well over time, the second one is much more plausible than the first, although the first FX, I think, has a better plot, at least a more sensical and consistent within it plot. But they are both very good movies, and they are very much sort of underrated for the time. Neither of those were, you heard a lot about them for a brief period of time, but they're not, when you think of those 80s movies or early 90s movies, those are not usually at the top 10 list, but they're very solid, entertaining movies from the period. FX and FX2. What do you think?